Welcome back to the show, everyone. It's Dina Calmetti here, and for today's news, I wanted to bring you an update in regards to the Middle East, because a lot has happened in the last 24 hours. For instance, President Trump has stated that it's too late to negotiate with the surviving leaders of Iran. He's also not ruling out boots on the ground. In addition to that, Russia is tossing around the word World War III. France wants to build up their nuclear arsenal and send it to the UK. And they're also sending their warships to British bases to defend against Iran and more. So a lot to talk about. Let's get started. President Trump has told Iran's surviving leaders it's too late. Writing on his Truth Social account, the president said their air defense, Air Force, Navy, and leadership is gone. They want to talk. I said, too late. It comes as Iranian drones attacked another major Gulf oil refinery in the UAE and also targeted the site of the largest American military base in Qatar as the U.S.-Israeli war with Iran enters its fourth day. The Iranian war spiraled on Tuesday as the U.S. and Israel launched a fresh bombing raid on the capital. Multiple U.S. bases across the region were on high alert after attacks on consulates in Saudi Arabia and Kuwait. The State Department ordered the evacuation of non-emergency personnel and family in Kuwait, Bahrain, Iraq, Qatar, Jordan, and the UAE. The U.S. urged citizens to leave more than a dozen Middle Eastern countries, but with much of the airspace closed, many remain stranded. President Trump has been warning that the big one is coming, and that big wave hasn't even happened. The U.S. Embassy in Saudi Arabia sent out a security alert shortly after 8 a.m. Eastern Time, warning of imminent missile and drone attacks over the city, a major center for the oil industry and headquarters. They said, do not come to the U.S. consulate. Take cover immediately in your residence on the lowest available floor and away from windows. Do not go outside. Iran has also launched drone attacks on America's largest Middle East base and warned the gates of hell will open. The Islamic regime's army said on Tuesday its forces were launching attacks on the airbase in Qatar, which hosts up to 10,000 troops and serves as the main forward headquarters for the U.S. Central Command. The UK will send helicopters and a Royal Navy warship to Cyprus to protect British soldiers and their families. The Prime Minister says that the UK is fully committed to the security of Cyprus, where an RAF base was attacked by Iranian drones on Monday. He said that the HMS Dragon warship and helicopters capable of countering drones will be sent. His announcement comes after it emerged that France was planning to send anti-missile and anti-drone systems to the island. Israeli and U.S. airstrikes have obliterated the building used by Iranian clerics to decide Iran's new supreme leader. Known as the Assembly of Experts, Iran's surviving leaders are gathering after the supreme leader was killed on Saturday. Fox News is reporting that Qatar's foreign ministry condemned Iran's attacks on U.S. embassies in Saudi Arabia and Kuwait on Tuesday. The country released a statement calling the attacks a blatant violation of international laws. The statement comes as several Gulf states are considering deploying their own air forces to conduct offensive strikes in Iran. The statement goes on to read that the Ministry of Foreign Affairs stresses that the Iranian attacks on the two embassies contravene international agreements and diplomatic norms that criminalize assaults on diplomatic missions and grant immunity to their premises and staff. The ministry affirms the state of Qatar's full solidarity with the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and the state of Kuwait in all measures they take to safeguard their security and safety of their territories. Here's another report from Fox News. There are new indications that Gulf Arab states' air forces may begin taking part in strikes against Iran following the barrage of drones and missiles fired at their civilian centers. The report comes after the U.S. State Department warned of imminent Iranian attacks on the Saudi Arabian city of Bahrain on Tuesday, as well as reports of the port city of Daman facing assault. And forgive me, you guys, if I'm pronouncing those names incorrectly. As of right now, the United States military has carried out strikes against more than 1,700 targets in Iran. In a fact sheet, U.S. Central Command says that the strikes, which started on Saturday, have targeted the Iranian Navy ships, submarines, anti-ship missile sites, along with the command and control centers. Here are some other reports coming from the Times of Israel. No radioactive leakage has been recorded at the Natanz nuclear facility after U.S. and Israeli strikes. As I stated earlier, Britain sends helicopters with counter-drone tech to Cyprus, deploys naval vessel U.S. Embassy in Lebanon says it will remain closed until further notice. Shots fired at a Toronto synagogue, none injured. Israeli airstrikes hits the Lebanese city of Sidon. President Trump claims that Iran is running out of ammo, but predicts it will keep lobbying missiles for a while. Iran is stating that they will hit all Mideast economic hubs if the U.S.-Israeli attacks persist. They said that we have closed the Strait of Hormuz. Currently, the price of oil is about $80 and will soon reach $200. The French president held separate meetings with leaders of Cyprus, Lebanon, Qatar, the United Arab Emirates, the region of Kurdistan, to discuss the situation in the Middle East. The Jerusalem Post is reporting that Iran's missiles have wounded several in Israel, as the IDF has carried out ground ops in Lebanon, striking Beirut. President Trump has accused Sir Starmer of putting the U.S.-UK special relationship in peril after he failed to back him over the Iranian war. Now, this is coming from Fox News. Apparently, President Trump has rejected claims that Israel forced his hand in launching Operation Epic Fury against Iran. A reporter pressed Trump on the issue during a meeting at the White House, asking whether Trump initially brought the U.S. into war. The president responded bluntly, "No, I might have forced their hand. You see, we were having negotiations with these lunatics, and it was my opinion that they were going to attack first. They were going to attack. If we didn't do it, they were going to attack first. I felt strongly about that. We have great negotiators, great people that do this very successfully and have done it all their lives very successfully. And based on the way the negotiations were going, I think they were going to attack first, and I didn't want that to happen. So if anything, I might have forced Israel's hand." He went on to say that we've had a very, very powerful impact because virtually everything they have has been knocked out. Now their missile count is going way down. Amazingly, they're hitting countries that were, let's call them neutral, right? They lived together for a long time. They, I think, were surprised. I was surprised. And now those countries are all fighting against them and fighting strongly against them. Now let's talk about France real briefly. It's being reported that France will expand its nuclear arsenal as part of the nation's new nuclear strategy. This is coming from President Macron. He argued that the nation can only ensure its security by being feared. The announcement came during a keynote speech given by Macron on Monday at a military base hosting the country's ballistic missile submarines. He justified the need to review the nuclear posture by the need to adapt to what he described as a new reality, citing Russia's ongoing development of its arsenal and China's efforts to catch up militarily with the U.S. as key threats. But he went on to say that I have decided to increase the numbers of warheads of our arsenal. If we had to use our arsenal, no state, however powerful, could shield itself from it, and no state, however vast, would recover from it. He added that Paris will no longer disclose the size of its arsenal to make sure its adversaries are afraid of its potential. France is estimated to have just under 300 nuclear warheads, around 13 times fewer than Russia or the U.S. The French president also outlined what he called a forward nuclear deterrent strategy that would include circumstantial deployments of nuclear weapons to other European NATO states. At least 8 countries, the UK, Germany, Poland, the Netherlands, Belgium, Greece, Sweden, and Denmark, are interested in hosting the French nuclear weapons. What's going on with Spain? Reuters is reporting that 15 U.S. aircraft have left the Rota and Marron military bases in southern Spain since the U.S. and Israel launched weekend attacks on Iran. The foreign minister of Spain said it would not allow its military bases, which are jointly operated by the U.S. and Spain, but under Spanish sovereignty, to be used for attacks on Iran, which Spain has condemned. Britain had also initially refused to allow the use of its bases for an attack on Iran, but on Sunday, the Prime Minister authorized their use for collective self-defense. The Jerusalem Post is reporting that Western sources said that Qatar has carried out strikes inside Iran over the past 24 hours. The reported action came after the country said it thwarted an attempted attack on the Hamad International Airport in Doha. Now, the New York Post is reporting that President Trump told the Post on Monday that he's not ruling out sending U.S. ground troops into Iran if they were necessary, adding that the Operation Epic Fury was way ahead of schedule. He said, I don't have the yips with respect to boots on the ground. Like every president says, there will be no boots on the ground. I don't say that. I say probably don't need them, or
if they were necessary. Secretary of War Pete Hegseth said on Monday morning during a Pentagon press conference that no American troops are currently inside Iran, though he also did not rule out the possibility. So what is Russia saying? Well, former Russian President Dmitry Medvedev has warned that the U.S. president could set off World War III with his criminal regime change operations. In an interview with TASS published on Monday, Medvedev, who now serves as the deputy chairman of Russia's Security Council, was asked if World War III has already begun. He said technically no, but if Trump continues his insane course of criminal regime change, it will undoubtedly begin. In any event, could be the trigger. The attack on Iran is part of a broader war by the U.S. and its allies, he said, to maintain global dominance. According to Medvedev, Trump made a grave mistake by assassinating the Iranian supreme leader, putting all Americans at risk. He said following his assassination, there's no doubt that Iran will triple its efforts to develop nuclear weapons. Asked whether Iran can withstand the conflict and the passing of its leaders, he said the cost of rebuilding will be high, but the Islamic Republic will succeed. It requires a high degree of social consolidation, and the Americans have provided them with this consolidation. Asked if Russia is at risk at being attacked amid negotiations, Medvedev replied that there is only one guarantee that this will not happen. The U.S. fears Russia and knows the cost of a nuclear conflict. I don't know, you guys. What do you think about his words? Warnings, threats, caution? Tell me what you think in the comments. Now, in the meantime, Russia has warned that the war launched by the U.S. and Israel against Iran could spur both Iran and its Arab neighbors to acquire nuclear weapons. The Russian Foreign Minister, Sergei Lavrov, said that the consequence would be that forces will emerge in Iran in favor of doing exactly what the Americans want to avoid, acquiring a nuclear bomb, because the U.S. doesn't attack those who have nuclear bombs. Lavrov told a press conference that Arab countries could also join the race to build a bomb. He said that the risk was now growing that the nuclear proliferation problem will begin to spiral out of control.
So in conclusion, we have a very serious situation on our hands here. Could this morph into World War III? I don't have the answer to that question yet, but it's definitely laying the foundation for the book of Ezekiel, chapters 38 and 39, the Gog-Magog war. But I want to hear from you guys. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. Also, when you have a free moment, come and visit me on my social media pages, as well as my website. Thank you, everybody, for watching. And until next time, God bless and stay safe.